Hi, Alexander. Let's take a look at your new set, online communication. Let's see what you wrote. The issue of the communication through internet replacing direct contact has grown in importance over the last years. Some say such a move brings more drawbacks than advantages. Personally, I strongly disagree. This session will analyze both sides using examples from a hypothetical situation and the recent research from the business school in Warsaw to demonstrate points. Okay, fine. The only thing, there are two only things. I wanted to change around the language of this first sentence just because reading it, it really felt somewhat awkward. So, first of all, it's always the internet, okay? So, the issue of communication through the internet replacing direct contact has grown in importance. And then you're fine. So I would have gotten rid of the communication, and then instead I would have put the in front of internet, okay? So I think that's fine. Then the other thing that I would have changed here is I would have put a linker here. You see, you've got two ideas that contrast with each other and you have them in one sentence. And so to show the link between them, it's a good idea to put a linker, something like however, yet, but, even. One of those would be fine. So some system move brings more drawbacks than advantages. However, personally, I strongly disagree. Okay? Well, you don't even need the personally since you already have the I. So you could just say, however, I strongly disagree. Okay? And then it's fine. So let's take a look at your body paragraphs. On the one hand, there is ample evidence that online communication is simply faster. The central reason behind it is twofold. First, the people do not have to be aware of where the person they want to talk to currently is. Secondly, in a company with numerous facilities, one does not need to travel between buildings to have a conversation with other workers. For example, if a manager wants to talk with an employee from a different department by using an online chat, he or she will start the talk in no more than 1 minute. Therefore, irrefutably, a tremendous amount of time could be saved and spent otherwise. Okay, we'll talk about that. With that being said, the impact of talking online at work cannot be underestimated. This is largely because employees do not seem to work as effectively, LY, when using internet communicators as when they have physical meetings. Okay. For instance, recent research from the business school in Warsaw implied that workers performing their tasks remotely were able to finish them roughly 20% slower, should be more slowly, compared with those doing the same task arm to arm. We don't really say that. We say face to face, okay? And you can say it even though it's here, it's fine. Consequently, it seems clear that the efficiency could drop significantly due to a lack of direct contact among employees. Okay. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, although the performance of workers may decrease, comma, I believe the time that can be saved by using online communication highly outpaces such a drawback. In the future, it is predicted that more companies will implement communication through the internet. Okay, so what I wanted to do, Alexander, is I wanted to read the whole thing through before I kind of told you my feedback about task achievement. What you've done here is actually a really well-written essay. I thought you did very, very well here. It flowed really nicely. Grammar was very well controlled. Vocabulary also. You've really done a good job here, so bravo. Now, going back to the issue of task achievement, let's look at the topic again. It says that online communication is more common than face-to-face meetings. Do the advantages, presumably it's of this, outweigh the disadvantages? So the advantages of what? Of online communication in general? No. They're asking you about the fact that we communicate more online at work than we do face-to-face. Okay, so it's not, is online communication good? Is face-to-face communication good? It's the fact that we're doing more of this. Does that have advantages or disadvantages? Does that make sense? It's a detail, but it's a detail that really shows an understanding of the task and is the kind of thing that would separate a good essay from a really good essay. Okay, you kind of took this to be like an advantages of both face-to-face versus online communication, but that's not what they're asking you. Okay. I hope that's clear. I'm sure you'll tell me in your email. So, that for me was what was missing. It's like, yes, you were on topic, but you didn't quite grab the essence of what they were asking you. So with that said, I think you could have made some simple fixes here, really, in order to be more in tune with what the question was asking you. So for example, on the one hand, there was ample evidence that online communication is simply faster. So what you could have said instead is, on the one hand, there is ample evidence that the shift towards online communication has made work processes faster. Okay, so again, it's referring to this shift in the way we communicate, okay? And then what you could also do is you could say how this change is more valuable than, face-to-face meetings, okay? So let me see, let me find an example. All right, so here what you could have done rather than, and we've talked about this before, I'm never really a big fan of putting both your main ideas and then your support. I really am always a supporter of having a piece of support for each of your main ideas. So you could have done that here. You could have said, the central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, people do not have to be aware of where the person they want to talk to is. Someone can be in another country and yet work continues. Such such an option was never available, or such an option would not be available if we relied more on face-to-face communications. Okay, so do you understand what I'm saying? Like if you bring up the fact that there's a shift here, there's a change in the zeitgeist, as it were. Okay, and and also making this comparison. Okay. Here I was fine with your task achievement. You did make a comparison between working using online platforms versus actual face-to-face physical meetings. Okay, so like I said, it's really just a couple of changes in this essay, okay, both in your introduction and this paragraph primarily, to make sure that you've shown the examiner you really understood the topic, okay? But nice job overall. Let's take a look at your task one. Okay, so let's take a look at this. School subjects. The presented pie chart displays the figures for the popularity of 7 different subjects in German schools in 2017. Overall, PE was the most favorite one. Okay, you can't really say that because favorite already implies an extreme. So we don't use this expression. We say overall, PE was the most popular. That would have been best, okay? Or overall, PE was the favorite. So overall, PE was the most popular, while IT was the least. Moreover, PE and history combined were considered the best subjects for almost 50% of pupils. Fine. I don't love this 50%, because when you start using data in your overview, it stops being an overview and it's really more of a detailed paragraph. So you really want to be careful in your overview. You don't want to use data. You could have said, for the majority of the pupils, and that would have been okay. All right, let's keep going. Physical education stood stood in first place in 2017 in terms of popularity of subjects, closely followed by history at 22.9 and 22.4% accordingly. As many as 19.5% of German students took maths as their favorite topic at school. Physics was only 1.4% less popular at 18.1. Okay, so I like what you did here with physics and math. I didn't love what you did here. You see, you kind of you put them in the same sentence, and that's not what you want to do when you have a chart like this. So what happens usually in IELTS is they usually give you like a pie chart. Well, usually like 2 pie charts or 3 pie charts, or a pie chart and some other sort of diagram, like a table or something. So usually there's a lot of information that you have to condense and analyze. However, every now and then, IELTS does give you a task like this, where there's just one chart and you really have to stretch out the information. You really have to analyze it and kind of pick it apart so that it shows that you've done what it is you're supposed to do. So in other words, I would have extended some of this. So physical education stood in first place in 2017 in terms of popularity of subjects, full stop. Okay, no, or at 22.9%. History followed closely with 0.5% less at 22.4. Together, these made up nearly 50% of the popularity in Germany. Okay, so you're really extending it and then you're kind of concluding it, like you did here, really. All right, biology counted for 7.1% of votes among pupils in Germany in 2017. Notably, only 0.7% fewer students favored geography. I like that. The last place in terms of popularity. Now, this is an interesting piece of grammar, but you have to do it correctly. In the last place in terms of popularity stood IT. That's a really interesting piece of grammar. It's advanced, but when you do something like that, it's a good idea to, be accurate with it. The figure for this subject was almost half of that for biology at 3.7%. Great. I'm so glad you did that. I always tell students that this is the kind of thing you have to do, and you did it. So well done. That's really good. Yeah, I'm happy with this. I mean, everything that I'm telling you is essentially detail. Okay, so you're definitely on the right track. You're doing really well. Keep it up, okay? I'm happy with this. Just keep in mind what I said. Like I said, this type of thing isn't too frequent, but it does happen. And so it is an important skill to learn how to kind of extend and make connections. You did it for most of that. Like I said, it was just a minor thing here. All right, so good job. Let's see more work from you, and I'll be looking forward to it. So good luck.